Hello and welcome. My name is Angie Holden and I'm the blogger behind The Country Chic Cottage. Whether you're new to Cricut or whether you had your machine for a while, I'm going to list my top 10 favorite tools for Cricut crafting. Maybe you have all of them, maybe you don't, but you might want to get them all. So let's start with number one. So number one, you're definitely going to need some weeding tools, especially if you're going to work with vinyl or HTV. Now, the type of weeding tool that you want is totally dependent on the type of crafter you are. There are tons of different weeding tools on the market, none of which are better than any others. So just give a few of them a try, pick your favorite, and then run with it because I know you're going to love it. So I prefer a hook weeding tool, but there are pins on the market. There are tons of different ones. Grab your favorite, and I know you're going to love crafting with some vinyl and HTV. So along with weeding tools, you might want some tweezers. I don't use tweezers a ton, but they are super helpful, especially my favorite use for these is picking things up off of the mat, especially like fabric pieces once I've cut fabric. So I would definitely keep a pair of tweezers on hand. Now there are different types of tweezers, just like there are different types of weeding tools. So definitely pick your favorite type of tweezer, use that all the time. So I definitely like the type where you pinch it and then pull it up. And I have a set that has a really wide tip that I personally prefer, but you can also get the ones that have like the skinny tip as well. So the skinny tip I would use more for like weeding infusible ink, and then the wider tip for picking things up off the mat. That's just like my personal preference. Again, totally a personal preference type thing. Pick your favorite, start crafting. Next up is one everyone might not have, and that is the Brayer. The Brayer, I use it to push things down onto the mat. It extends the mat life. I use it literally every day. It is my top number one tool that I recommend to new Cricut crafters. So if you don't have a Brayer, haven't used one yet, I think it'll make a huge difference in your craft room. Now, a Brayer is really just a roller on a handle. So if you don't want to get the Cricut version, I really don't think you have to, but I do use the Cricut version. I love it. But any Brayer that you find on sale would probably still work and serve the same purpose. Next up, a scraper. So I like this big version. There are so many different scrapers on the market. I don't think you can really go wrong, just like personal preference type of thing. Big ones, small ones, felt covered ones, all different kinds of scrapers. But I seriously cannot live without my scraper. Now you might think scrapers are only for like vinyl crafts, but I use this scraper a ton for different things, even like cleaning my mat. So a scraper is definitely a must-have for Cricut crafters. All right, next up is the scoring stylus. Now this might not be a must for every Cricut crafter, but if you're going to use paper crafts and you want to put fold lines on them, I would definitely recommend the scoring stylus. Now the scoring stylus can be used on either the Explorer or the Maker series. Doesn't work in the Joy, but on the Maker series you can do the scoring wheels instead. Personal preference, I have a video comparing the two. I'll link to that below. You can kind of take a look at that and decide if you have the Maker. But for me, I really turn to the scoring stylus the most because I can put it in the A clamp and then my blade in the B clamp, and the machine doesn't stop and I have to change like the blades out for the Maker. So I turn to the scoring stylus most often anyway. But if you're doing paper crafts, fold lines, definitely pick up the scoring stylus. This is a spatula. This is amazing for getting small pieces of paper and that type of thing off of your mat, or cleaning up the mat after you cut and they're all scraps, and you can just kind of scrape them off with the spatula. Definitely a must-have tool, and a lot of times it comes in a kit with some of these other tools. All right, next up is a paper trimmer. So you put your paper in here, run this blade across it, it trims it to size. This is super convenient for cutting things to size for the mat. Now, if you have the Explorer 3 or the Maker 3, just do yourself a favor. Get a paper trimmer that goes to 13 inches if you're going to be using those smart materials. It will save you so much time and effort into cutting those materials to size. I would highly, highly recommend one for those. Other machines, you can get one that just goes to 12 inches. Makes cutting your material to size so much easier and getting those straight cuts so it goes back on the mat straight. It's just like a lifesaver to cut your material straight. All right, so after the paper trimmer is a craft knife. So this is just a blade that's used to cut things. I do understand that. However, it is so useful in your craft room. So you can cut materials to size to put on the mat. You can cut around materials when they're on the mat. Get rid of all that area around the outside that you want to save, use as scraps later on for other projects. And I also use it on thicker materials to finish the cuts a lot of times. So on thicker materials, say I'm cutting wood with my Maker, it'll leave like little pieces in the corners, and I can use my craft knife to finish those cuts. Now, along with the craft knife, I like to keep a self-healing mat that I can protect my work surface. Now you can use a ton of other things for that purpose, so it's not really a must, but I like to keep a self-healing mat and a craft knife on hand at all times. So this is pretty basic, but a good pair of scissors will take you so far, and I can't leave those off the list. So just do yourself a favor, keep a really good pair of scissors in your craft room. If you're working with fabric, I would take, like a pair of fabric scissors, one just for fabric, write fabric on them, kids do not touch, and then a pair of really good scissors to use in your crafting. I have so many pair of scissors, and this is like also the top #1 tool that I lose. So I like to keep plenty in my craft room to have one just handy at all times to grab. And finally, my number 10 tool is a Lightbox. Not required, but if you're using glitter HTV or glitter vinyl, you might find that it is required. So the cut lines on those are so hard to see, and a Lightbox makes that so much easier. So if you're thinking about upgrading your crafting, or if you're just having a ton of trouble seeing the cut lines on your project, consider a Lightbox for your Cricut crafting. I think you will really enjoy it. So now be sure to add the tools that you found in this video to your shopping list or your wish list. So if this video helped you, please give us a thumbs up. If you have any questions about anything we've covered, feel free to drop down in the comment section, ask away. So if you like this video, you might just want to hit that subscribe button on YouTube. We have videos like this every week, and trust me, you don't want to miss any of those. So thank y'all so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.